Hi, time for another short story from the pages of the June 1981 issue of Rod Serling's The Twilight Zone magazine. This time we're going to be discussing, or I'm going to be discussing, Waiting for the Papers by Alan Ryan. The ominous artwork accompanying this story was by Bob Newbecker. Now, Ryan's name was familiar to me as I have read his second novel, The Kill, in the mid to late 80s, if I am misremembering that timeline correctly or not. I don't know. That book was published in 1982. His first novel, which was titled Panther, was published in 1981, and I believe is covered in Paperbacks from Hell, or at least it has the ad art in there, I believe. He published two other novels in the early to mid 80s. Both were published by Tor. One was Dead White, and the other was Cast a Cold Eye. And after that, I think he pretty much transitioned to writing short stories for the remainder of the 80s before taking a break from writing in 1990. Waiting for the Papers was reprinted in The Bones Wizard, a collection of short stories, of his short stories that was published in 1988. And The Bones Wizard won Best Short Story, the World Fantasy Award for Best Short Story in 1985. I'm sad to share that Alan Ryan passed away from pancreatic cancer on June 3rd, 2011. Condolences to his family and friends. As far as this story goes, one of the things that kind of has been rattling around in my head is observations that I've heard recently here on YouTube and also elsewhere. And it basically is kind of like the difference between plot and story. The plot is whatever happens in a narrative. The story, however, is how or why the plot is happening or unfolding in the narrative, which explains the genesis of one of my all-time favorite critical complaints from famed drive-in critic Joe Bob Briggs, and one that I use all the time, and Tanya is taken to using now because it's just good. There was way too much plot getting in the way of the story. And I think you know what I'm talking about when you hear that. Now, while there are a great many stories that are plot driven, there are a great many that are not. And those stories focus less on what is happening and more on the overall effect of whatever is happening. And that is the case with Waiting for the Papers. The story is very simple. A 30-something divorcee finds himself falling into the social circle of a group of elderly men who are 30 to 40 years older than him, that have made an art out of killing time and filling up the time they have to kill. Although there is now precious little time left to kill before the world comes to an end. The plot mechanism here is pretty much the same as On the Beach. While I have yet to read Neville Shute's book, I have seen Stanley Kramer's upbeat and life-affirming film adaptation. And if you want to put a skip in your step and a smile on your face, I suggest watching it. Not. That is a really dark movie. This story really is, it's part requiem, part dirge, and is a very, very quiet, almost meditative piece, and is filled with a very somber vibe. And I think it's worth reading. I would probably give it like 3 stars, which is to me just a really solid, rating. That's my interpretation. The But I will give a word of warning for those that might want to seek this story out. If you're the kind that likes some kind of definitive ending to a story, waiting for the papers is probably not going to be for you. This really is a mood piece, but it is a mood piece that had images and uh, concepts that stuck with me. And it's also put me in the mood for chocolate egg cream, which I might have sometime in January. We'll see. Well, until I talk at you next time, stay scary and keep waiting for the papers, I guess. Bye.